More is a modular and open-source platform for setting up, conducting and evaluating studies. After logging into the Study Manager, there is a dashboard overview of all studies. In the detailed view, one can see general information and configured study groups. The tabs show the main parts of the study configuration, like participants, observations and interventions. Within the observations, the user can configure all measurements they want to get from the participant's smartphone, wearables or questionnaires. The interventions consist of triggers and actions. Both interventions and observations can be executed to all users or to specific user groups only. When the configuration is done, the user can start the study and provide registration tokens to participants. The participant just has to install the app and input their registration code. After reading and accepting the terms, they can see the schedule of all the upcoming study tasks. From the Details view, users can immediately start participating in the study by answering the introductory question. Once they start the observation, the researchers can monitor the data in real time under the Data tab in the Study Manager. The received data can be seen with a timestamp. When the study is completed, the entire study data can be exported. If you are interested in further details, visit our website to learn more.
Hello and welcome to this quick demo of a simple study implemented in the modular open research platform called More, currently at home at more-health.at. And the core idea of More, in case you don't know, is that it is a study manager and companion app that allows one to implement quite ambitious, situated, sort of live accompanying studies that combine both sensor data collection, possibly from the mobile phone or wearable sensor devices, with the ability to, for example, collect on a regular basis questionnaires or surveys. And it also has an interesting component to set up adaptive interventions which react to the incoming data in some manner, for example, setting a reminder or encouragement message or starting another observation based on a certain predefined trigger. Let me give you a quick demo. I have already logged into the platform, as you can see here. And normally I can either import a structure of a study that is already set up, or I can set up a new one. And then there's a bunch of information like study title, purpose, participant information. There's modular consent management here. So I'm going to spare you filling that out and jump straight into a study that I have pre-filled out with such information, which of some of that will then obviously be displayed to participants as they sign into the study. And you can also see down here that I've chosen to set up a very simple study, one where we want to study the concept of so-called just-in-time adaptive interventions, which try to react somehow to the user's context and in this case encourage them to be physically active. And then we simply set up a control group down here, 2 study groups. We set up a control group without JIT, so that doesn't get any intervention. Very classic setup. I can also do more complicated setups here by adding another study arm, things like that. But that's not what I'm going to do in this case. There's also a functionality to collaborate with others where I can have some rights management, who can configure studies, who can access the data collected from studies and so forth. So that's the general study setup. And then I can configure observations that my study is supposed to contain. If I haven't got anyone yet, I can add an observation here by add observation, and there's a bunch of different observation types. Refer the documentation if you want to learn more about the details. I'm just going to demo a simple selection here. So I've already added some observations, very classic study setup. So you see here a study start questionnaire has been configured using Lime Survey, which is where you normally do your demographics and maybe some trait questionnaires. And likewise, there is a study closing questionnaire. So after a participation period, this study is configured, I think, to take about a week, live accompanying, so people can take it home. And there's the companion app from More that helps people then run through the study and do the questionnaires and mediates the sensor data collection, either directly from the phone or as using the phone as a touching point with wearable devices, for example. And in this case, we have also configured accelerometry to be collected from the mobile phone, because that's something in this case we want to react to for gauging physical activity in a demonstrative notion. And then also there's a simple questionnaire, which is integrated directly into the More app. Lime survey questionnaires, as you see above, also appear integrated. The simple questionnaire is just a single item. We can react both to return values from Lime survey and simple question if we want to. But what you note here is that this observation is assigned to the group with JITIs only, whereas the other one are assigned to all of them. For a start and end questionnaire with such a study setup with 2 arms, or 2 different conditions or treatments or levels on the variable of having or not having JITIs, that makes a whole lot of sense. Accelerometry in this case, for example, we may want to collect because we want to be able to say something about the physical activity levels across all groups afterwards. So that is why we set it up like this. If you want to just see how something like this is configured, I can go into the example of the accelerometer mobile sensor data collection. I can give it an observation title and a purpose, which tells my co-investigators what this is for. And I can also add a little bit of text that will be displayed as part of modular consent for those data collection mechanisms that are enabled in a study, so that that we make sure that participants agree to this particular type of data collection activity. And here I can select whether it's for which group it should be or whether it's for the entire study. A sensor data collection I typically want to be hidden, so I don't want it to be the present reminder of participants all the time that this is currently going on, but of course they need to agree initially. We have other things like questionnaires where we want notifications and reminders of these happening to be visible in the More companion application so that people don't forget to fill them out. As I said, there are many other types of observations like a GPS sensing, for example, what you might imagine. And there's a relatively powerful scheduling mechanism, so you can schedule observations to happen all the time or just selectively for some periods during your study. And then, as I said, you might just start a study, collect observations, be happy with collecting study data, and you could look into monitoring to see whether some data is coming in your study from the different collection types that you have configured. But we can also do this interesting thing with adaptive interventions, which is something that we want to use in this study. So just to give you a sense of what that is or could be. Here, interventions describes actions delivered to the app and triggered by a scheduled interval or rules on captured data. So I could have a mechanism of just sending some messages, for example, regularly, or triggering some other actions regularly. But in this case, I want to react to the incoming data in the treatment group, generating a so-called just-in-time adaptive interventions. So in this case, it's configured to look both at accelerometry, relatively often look at the incoming accelerometry data, and if there's too little activity on the x-axis, this is a very, very simple example, then I'm going to trigger a push notification to consider getting up and spending a few minutes exercising, something like that. And again, this is in the JITIs group only. And then I also want to react to this single question that I configured. So this is what I configure here. That is often referred to as an ecological momentary assessment. And I want to react in case, I don't know, some planning action was possibly done, and then remind people to keep up with the planned activity. And here I can configure what observation to react to. And in this case, it's the activity plan ecological monitoring assessment. So that is already configured. And of course, then I need some study participants. So I have pre-populated this list. And I'm ready to go because these participants are assigned to my 2 study groups. I can always add additional participants either one by one or with a comfort function to add multiple. And then there's also a comfort function for group assignment, which is just random assignment across all available groups. I can import and export participant groups as well. Please note, on the More platform, it's meant for managing study participants under pseudonym only. So people receive tokens to log into the study, and the aliases should be something that you maybe use internally, like P1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not meant to manage real-world names. And then we are in principle ready to go. If I have everything set up, configured as I want it, then normally I can start the study. This one I had started before, so I can resume it. It gives me some proper warnings that I know what I'm doing. And now the study is resumed. And then we can actually briefly jump into the mobile side and pick out one of the participant codes that is not yet taken. So I have already picked one out here and entered that. So I hope I typed it right. Yes, and we can see now there's a new user on the More mobile application, and they are participating for the first time. So they get all that study information that I put in. If you, of course, run it on paper before, then you can keep this very brief, but this can also be your mechanism of informed consent. It gets documented. And you can look into all the details, the modularity here, as I said before, for the particular types of data collection that are active in this study. And then, if you go through all of these, then at the end of the day, you can accept these terms. And then, of course, I need to make sure that the rights management is in place so that sensor data and everything can actually be collected. And now I'm in my study as a participant. I see an overview. You may remember I see the questionnaires here. I may get a notification sooner or later as we have configured. We won't have time in this demo to show all of that. But notifications, as I schedule them, appear in the system messages and then also on this messages screen within the app. If I open that, I can choose to start completing questionnaires like this integrated one that was pre-configured. I can also see further details. This is for the connection of wearable devices, if that is part of the study. And I can also look into the study details, see all the active modules. And here I can also see that physical activity is being recorded. It's not something I want to do anything about right now, but in principle, on the general view, it is hidden. And yes, if we then jump into the More platform itself, into monitoring, then we can see that we have a new user who has just joined the study and is aptly contributing data points here from the mobile phone accelerometry sensor in that case. Just to give an example. Right, this is the quick overview. Head to more-health.at for more information. Thank you for listening to this quick demonstration.